Hello everyone, and welcome to the World Refrigeration Day student engagement webinar. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marie Karekla, AIRAH's Engagement and Program Coordinator. So this year, World Refrigeration Day hopes to inspire students and young professionals to meet the challenges faced in their diverse communities. And in today's webinar, in particular, we'll be exploring opportunities for students and young professionals in industry and look at some of the key pathways and resources available to students out there. But just before we begin, if you do have any questions for our presenters today, please type them into the Q&A function. That's located just at the bottom of your screen, and we will allow for some time at the end of the formal presentation to go through any questions that you may have. So now I'd like to introduce to you our first presenter for today, Brett Hedge, who is the Sales and Marketing Manager at Kirby. So Brett, I'll pass things over to you to get us underway. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Thanks to AIRAH for the opportunity to speak today. As Marie said, I'm the National Sales and Marketing Manager at Kirby. Kirby are one of the refrigeration air conditioning wholesalers that serve the industry. And alongside my day job, I also act as the co-chair of the Refrigeration STG for AIRAH. So it's a great pleasure today to be able to speak to a new audience or a potential new audience for us to reach out to and talk about our industry, what we do, who we are, and you'll see that in the theme of the slides that I have. And making this a very outward presentation as an introduction to the refrigeration air conditioning industry. Unfortunately, if you're part of the industry, you'll probably know a lot of this stuff. This is targeted at people that know very little around the industry. So our services as part of the refrigeration air conditioning industry are essential. They're part of the everyday life that we have around the world, but they're not often front of mind when people walk into a building or a supermarket or any real space that has some climate control conditions. And as Marie said, and in the video, the built environment, as it's referred to. The refrigeration system is an essential part of any air conditioning system, which means it's in the world around us every day of the week and in every closed environment we go into. It's critical to ventilation and human comfort as it is to food preservation. The industry, whilst important in Australia, is important in all parts of the world, regardless of the warmest or coldest climates. And noteworthy that some of the most efficient heating systems in the world are actually refrigeration systems that are called heat pumps and work in the reverse cycle. So the importance of the refrigeration cycle is significant, and it's seen the world around. One thing that is also clear is that we were the essential service, or were an essential service that maintained 24/7 operations throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And as you see in the first slide, we actually don't take ourselves too seriously in every aspect, but I do have some cross-sector of the industry there in terms of technicians, people from wholesale industry, engineers, and essentially sustainability leaders talking about what we do in the industry. So on this slide here, a whole lot of pictures, a little bit of the industry background, and refrigeration is everywhere. And what we see in this slide, sports stadiums, buildings, as I mentioned earlier, and things like convenience stores, pubs, clubs, hotels, food preparation, data centers, fresh food from a berry point of view, swimming pools, medicines, COVID vaccine in particular, all needing refrigeration, vineyards, things like that, all depicted here in this picture. Air conditioning, heating, and process cooling are extensions of the refrigeration industry and are essential to our everyday needs. Keeping food safe and beverages cool is is a simple reference point. But without refrigeration, there would be much less of everything else in our lives, and our lives would be a whole lot different. So if you're working in the industry, you could be working from concept to design, from creation to production, from installation to end of life, in installing and maintaining equipment and servicing equipment. You could be in a high-rise building one day and in a cafe fixing an underbench the next day. You can be taking many parts of the world when you're working on refrigeration systems. So in this next slide, our background, some facts and figures. There are 57.2 million pieces of equipment in Australia. That refrigeration air conditioning asset is responsible for 24% of Australia's power consumption. That's a quarter of the energy used in Australia directly as a result of air conditioning or refrigeration systems in process or comfort environment applications. 2% of the gross domestic product is spent on the refrigeration industry, keeping food cold or people comfortable. That is a significant amount of money when you think of the nature of the industry and the fact that we're hidden in most respects, and people don't really recognise the refrigeration and air conditioning industry as a career path or an opportunity for people to take on a role and find themselves in a fulfilling career for the remainder of their working life. Refrigeration and air conditioning have an impact on greenhouse gases, through greenhouse gases, and from both a power consumption and a direct impact of refrigerant leakage. Refrigeration systems use synthetic gases, which unfortunately create global warming or create emissions that lead to global warming. And as a result of that, it's very important that the industry continues to evolve and innovate through emerging technologies and reduce its dependence on synthetic greenhouse gases. Through the 25 years that I've been involved in the industry, there has been 3 different phase outs of refrigerants and many different ways that we've gone about doing the same thing. The industry needs to continue to evolve, and the pathway towards 2050 will be an interesting one with a view to achieve net zero in almost every population around the world. Next slide, please, Marie. And lastly, I thought I would leave you with some thoughts on the industry of what you will see if you are working amongst it. And you can see some proud examples here of people working in the industry from a social media point of view, people posting daily their activity around what they do in the workplace and how they see themselves fit in the world, enjoying their work essentially and sharing it with their other colleagues. Lastly, I would like to speak, and I'm sure my colleagues Davies and Caroline will elaborate on this further, of where a refrigeration air conditioning career or role in this trade could take you. The trade is multifaceted. Plumbing and electrical are 2 of the things that are apparent in the refrigeration trade, as you learn, alongside mechanical engineering. It is a very interesting trade, and it's very varied in the type of work that you could take on. Most people say that no 2 days are the same in a day in their life when they're a refrigeration technician, and it is pretty true. The roles that you could take on from an apprentice, a field technician, design engineer, application engineer, project manager, roles in sales, customer service, sustainability, analytical roles, leadership roles, management roles, administrative roles. The list goes on and on and on. There are many roles that you can take on, and starting from something as simple as a role in a customer service environment, taking you all the way through to a leadership role, or even starting as an apprentice and then finding your career path, which I think Davies will take you through as he discusses his position in the refrigeration air conditioning industry. So thanks, Marie, and I'll hand it over to Davies.
Thanks for that, Brett. I'd just like to introduce Caroline Fitzgerald as our next presenter for today. Before I pass things over to you, Caroline, I've just got just a short video showcasing a video that Woolworths had actually put up for International Women's Day, celebrating careers in refrigeration. So I'm just going to play a quick video, and then Caroline, I'll pass things over to you.
I'm Naomi Kelly. I was the first female apprentice refrigeration technician for Woolworths in Victoria. I used to be a deli manager at Woolworths. The refrigeration technicians would come in all the time. I became friends with one of them. There was an incident where he was coming to fix something that someone else had tried to fix, and I made the comment that I could have done it better than that person, and he said that they were looking for apprentices, and I jumped straight on. Coming to work every day is pretty much a giant puzzle. It's constantly looking at a problem and trying to fix it and trying to figure out what caused the problem so it wouldn't happen again. It's always going to be different, it's always changing, and you'll always be learning. The level of expertise in the team is astounding. Everyone wants you to succeed. I think that the biggest misconception for women in technical roles tends to be the fact that it's going to require a lot of effort and physicality that they don't have, whereas I don't think that that's necessarily a problem. There's a lot of strong women out there, but there's also a lot of other methods to get the jobs done. Women should really, really jump on board and have a go because they're more than capable.
One of the things I'm really excited about is already seeing the burgeoning careers of female team members that have joined across our organisation as part of this program. We really took on the challenge to say we can actually help shape the future workforce. We've already had 45% of our intake of our latest apprentices being female, which is a step change from where we've ever been as an organisation.
It was a hugely scary option to make such a huge career change, but I've never had so much joy out of a job until I did it. So I would encourage any woman to take the same risk and challenge themselves every day.
Yeah, and look, and that video there is just another great example of the work Woolworths does to create a diverse and inclusive workplace, and also showcases the ongoing opportunities they do pose for women across their entire business. So now I'll pass things over to you, Caroline. You can get us underway. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Marie. Really appreciate the opportunity to reach out to some more students and more potential apprentices to be joining the industry, and possibly with Woolworths as well. So why do we have apprentices? Why are they essential? Well, I think Brett has already identified why we need them. Why does Woolworths need them is also an important part of this. We had to build an apprenticeship program which supports the delivery of our key strategic priorities around sustainability and business performance. As you can imagine, every one of our stores needs a great deal of refrigeration, and we are dealing with sustainability goals which we're working towards to improve the natural refrigerants that we have in our systems, and we're phasing out the synthetic, and this takes time, and we're also committed to making sure this happens as soon as possible. We recognise there's a shortage of skills in the industry, and certainly, as already mentioned, diversity as well, and so it's very important for us to support this. And this apprenticeship program kicked off last year, pretty much this time last year in time for World Refrigeration Day. Our first cohort in this apprenticeship program started with us in October. And our commitment is therefore to be continuing to run this program year on year. We are just about to launch again. This is a bit of a spoiler alert, but we're actually about to launch our next recruitment campaign. And we're looking to be hiring an additional 10 to 15 apprentices each year moving forward. In the photo we have here, just so you know, this is one of our apprentices, Colin. He's up in Brisbane, and he's in our WRI team, which is the installation side of the business. Next slide, please. So just to explain what refrigeration is at Woolworths, we have two sides of the business, and the uniforms in our avatars actually represent that. So The guy in blue on the left, he represents our service side of the business. They're very much involved in obviously everything to do with the maintenance and the dealing with breakdowns and preventative maintenance and the ongoing repair of our assets within our stores. And then moving on to the high-vis girl on the right of our avatar, that's the installation team. So the installation team are responsible for installing obviously all the new refrigeration systems into our brand new stores, but it's also important to be updating and renewing our stores, and part of that is with our refrigeration. And so we are moving forward, as I said, with the more environmentally sustainable options within our stores and bringing in new technology with that. Next slide. So just to give you a heads up of what recruitment looks like for us at Woolworths. Last year, we had nearly 500 people apply for this opportunity. We're very excited that we had that much interest in this. Probably 2/3 of the applicants came externally. We also had people internally who were interested in joining us, who are already working in our stores, but it's certainly not a prerequisite at Woolworths. The apprenticeships we currently offer are in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane primarily. The majority of the roles are in WRI, the installation side of things, but we are looking to expand that, and we currently have WFM, or the service apprentices, who are currently in Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne, as well as one over in WA as well. And we are looking at the opportunity that we might expand that out to Adelaide as well, and possibly even Newcastle. So we are looking to really expand where the workforce is contracting, because this is certainly an issue when it comes to recruitment of qualified tradespeople, and we recognise we need to grow these people ourselves and then hopefully retain them too, but otherwise we are giving back to the industry as well. So as I mentioned, our next recruitment campaign is actually going to be starting this week, and so just so to let you know who we hired from our last year's campaign. We started off in October. We had 10 apprentices, and as a statistic, I know it's a small number of people, but 40% of those apprentices were female, and they started with us in October. And that is significant when you think of the industry average for females in the industry is less than 2% for technicians. So we're moving in the right direction. Our aspirations for next financial year and our next campaign is we're looking as best we can to go 50-50 with gender diversity. The important thing to point out with this, though, is that we do have a stringent application process, and we're certainly not looking to just tick diversity boxes. Everybody has to be suitable for the role and meet the same minimum requirements. And so it's important to understand that we're committed to diversity, but quality diversity as well. We had the opportunity as well to extend our headcount by an additional 5 apprentices due to the government wanting to support more apprentices in skill shortage industry areas. And 2 of our incoming cohort actually identify as First Nations as well, and I think this is important to also represent other areas of diversity, which is all important for us at Woolworths. We move forward. And just wanted to pass on this little quote from one of our apprentices. This is Rachel. She's one of our apprentices in Melbourne. I'm not a Friggie myself, but those who are can appreciate all that copper pipe work is her own. She's only been in the role for 6 to 8 months when she was doing that work, but to me, I was quite impressed by that. But I think the quote that came from Rachel, and this is me, I went to visit her when I was at the AIRAH conference, and I went to meet her in one of the stores. And this is verbatim from her. I didn't realise how much fun it would be. I still can't believe we get paid to do this work. And I think that's just a fantastic statement from one of our apprentices. And I don't have a quote to show you, but I certainly can also identify that some of the other apprentices, they simply say it doesn't always feel like work because they're learning it. As we mentioned, no 2 days are the same, and the variety they experience in their roles. And I think that's a really important thing to look at as well. So we'll move on to the next slide, and this is just to explain what we're looking for when we're looking for apprentices. So the key thing is the willingness to learn and the commitment to the full apprenticeship life cycle. It is a 4-year apprenticeship. It is a marathon. There's no sprint here. We can't rush it, and you're training for a lifetime career here. We're not looking to just churn and burn people. Our apprentices and also qualified technicians have to be willing to travel. Our stores aren't all in our metro city areas. they can be in regional locations, and so it's important that people can understand what that means. And our service technicians, of course, will be moving from store to store as they're servicing the stores as well. So to understand that's a part of the role. Sometimes with our installation teams, they do work nights, they can work weekends, and they can also work in remote locations. And I think that's an understanding as well of what it can be like for supermarket refrigeration. It is a technical role. It is a job the way you need to have good numerical and mechanical reasoning skills. And I think to understand that you are also going to be doing a Cert 3 at TAFE, and you'll need to have competency in the academic side of this as well. And obviously for people to appreciate, this is a physically active career. So it's just for people to understand that these are the sort of I'm being honest about what the role's about. I'd just like to pass on as well for any tips if people are thinking they might be interested but not quite sure, is that pre-vocational training such as the Cert 2 in electrical technology is really highly regarded by us. It's not essential, but I think it's a great way to dip your toe into not just the refrigeration industry. You could be looking to be an electrician as well, and just understand a little bit more about it. It does give you an advantage in your first year of your TAFE learning within the apprenticeship, because you will have actually already done some of the learning. We do need apprentices who can drive, and of course you need to be an Australian citizen as well. So I guess what I'm trying to represent here is the importance of apprentices to us in the industry, how they make up a significant part of what we're building towards for our future in our resourcing for this. We appreciate that this is an aging industry. We understand that we need to make sure that we grow enough young apprentices who can come in and build for the future of our careers. Careers in Woolworths, for example, can grow to be quite varied. You could stay as a qualified tradesperson, and as certainly a very respected tradesperson who has years of experience certainly can be very happy in that role, but there's project management opportunities, commissioning opportunities, and then in a big company like Woolworths, of course, you can go in a broader sense across all of our construction and our property portfolio as well. So I think that, you know, when you look at where does refrigeration take you, it really is up to you, and I think that we need to be excited about what those opportunities can be. So that's, I think, all I've got to show, but thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Caroline. And the Woolworths apprenticeship can definitely certainly open up many opportunities for those looking to take that up. I'd now like to introduce to you Davia Sangha from BSA Limited, who will be sharing with us today a bit of an overview of his journey and an insight into some of the systems that he has worked on and been involved in. So Davia, I'll pass things over to you for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davies Sangha, and I'm the New South Wales Service Manager at BSA Limited. So BSA is a multi-services and national organisation that specialises in communication solutions, fire solutions, and the area that I work in, air conditioning and refrigeration solutions. When I was approached to share my story of my journey so far in the refrigeration and air conditioning trade, I jumped at this chance as it gives me an opportunity during World Refrigeration Week to do my part in promoting this trade to the broader community and the exciting and rewarding opportunities it can create for anyone in this trade. For myself personally, and as shown on the slide, I'll be covering my career progression from the apprenticeship years and the fulfillment that I have achieved in a variety of roles. Some images on that screen just shows some of the type of systems that I've worked on, some of the institutions that I've been involved in, and just some of the rewarding aspects that I've achieved along the way. So if I cast my mind back all the way back to the end of 2002, I was in the process of completing my HSC, and as most students do at this point, I was having a conversation with my parents about what I would like to do as my career. At this point, I honestly didn't know. What I did know, though, I wasn't interested in university at the time, as I was always quite a hands-on child growing up. You know, I was always doing the repairs around the house or working on my bike or, you know, anything along those lines to do with tools or anything that excited me. And to this day, I still vividly remember my dad said he knew someone who owned a small air conditioning business. And if I'd be interested in an apprenticeship in this trade. All I knew about air conditioning or refrigeration at that point in time was, you know, I'll push a button on the wall and it's either going to cool the house or heat the house, or my refrigerator kept my drinks cool, or the food fresh. I did not know anything else, but I gave it a go in the end. Fast forward to today, I could never imagined not only the opportunities this trade has created for myself, but now what I know about this trade and how critical it is to each of our lives. For example, if you think about it, how would each and every one of you imagine your daily life would be like if you wake up in the morning and there was no refrigerator at home for your cold milk? On the way to school or work, there was no air conditioning in the car or the bus. You know, you get to school or your office, there was no air conditioning in the building. You go to the supermarket in the afternoon, there was no fresh fruit or produce. You know, how would the local and global economies survive without this? Could the world survive without air conditioning and refrigeration solutions? It took me a couple of years, but I've come to learn that the economies would not be sustainable. That's how critical air conditioning and refrigeration is to everyone. We now live in a world where air conditioning and refrigeration is part of all our daily lives. It's not even a luxury anymore. It's actually a necessity to whoever has access to it. As the world continues to evolve, the demand for cooling and heating solutions will continue to grow, as will the demand for jobs in this trade. Now I'll go back to 2003, the first year of my apprenticeship. I was working for an air conditioning company that installed day in, day out air conditioning systems in new and existing houses. It was a very physical job, but and one that I thoroughly enjoyed at that time. However, I wanted to progress myself and really understand the fundamentals of refrigeration and air conditioning and why the system does what it does. So I changed organizations in 2004 at the start of my second year, and I moved to a service organization that gave me the ability to work on large commercial air conditioning and refrigeration systems in cinemas, shopping centers, high-rise buildings, and petroleum sites, many of which that you have no doubt visited yourself. I spent the next 3 years here until I completed my apprenticeship in 2007. And on reflection of these 3 apprenticeship years, these were the most crucial to my career. As this is where I learned the basics and the fundamentals of refrigeration and air conditioning. This is where I really fell in love with the industry and what triggered my technical ability and got me thinking about solutions and my mind thinking about solutions in ways that I never thought I had the ability to do so. In 2008, having successfully completed the apprenticeship and my Certificate 3 in refrigeration and air conditioning at TAFE, New South Wales, I now wanted to further progress my technical ability. So I joined an organisation that was providing the services to Woolworths and Coles supermarkets. So this is time critical service delivery, fast-paced environment. If something goes wrong, I need to get in there and fix it really. And this was where I thrived. This is where I thrived the best under pressure. But I also, you know, my whole life growing up, week after week, going to the supermarket with my parents and grocery shopping, I never blinked twice about how and why the product is cooled. I used to just go to the refrigerated case and just grab it, and that's it. Or all I knew is that we were rushing home before the ice cream melted. So, you know, that's all I ever thought about. There was no thinking or understanding of how it cools, why it cools, or the amount of work and effort that goes behind the scenes, from designing systems to installing systems to servicing systems. So that career change definitely tested my ability as I'd hoped for. And although the apprenticeship years were the most crucial of my career, my time from 2008 onwards really pushed my learning ability to a whole other level. You know, I was excited to come to work every single day, learn something new. The technologies were evolving at that point in time. It was a fast-paced environment, and literally customers like yourself having the ability to buy fresh foods and cold drinks was literally at the hands of my fingertips. So that was a real rewarding period of my career. Having spent 3 years in that role, I then got my big break. I was 26 at the time, and I was promoted to a service supervisor position. So now I'm no longer in the tools or in the field anymore. I'm now in probably an introductory management position, overseeing the daily operations of the field staff, ensuring we're meeting the contractual obligations of the clients. This was a great learning for me, and it was a stepping stone to other career opportunities that I've had on the way. But most notably during this period, if you recall at the start of this presentation, I said I wasn't interested in university. This is where I was presented with the opportunity from my employer at the time they wanted me to go to university, and they were willing to pay for it. And I just thought to myself, wow, like now I've gone from not wanting to go to university now, and now having the option to go there through the access of the employment opportunities that I've taken. And I didn't accept it straight away, but after some thinking, I accepted that role. And mid 2013, I started my university degree, Bachelor of Business and Commerce, majoring in business management and double sub major in marketing and economics. And I did 4 years part-time and then 1 year full-time. And by mid 2018, walking across that stage and getting the degree and seeing my wife and my kids, because they sacrificed a lot too for me to achieve this. It was a real proud moment for me. And it was just a real exciting time. So in the end, sorry, one sec. From 2015, I changed organisations and got my next opportunity working with Brett and at the industry leading wholesaler Kirby HVAC&R. I spent 5 years there in a role as strategic account manager, and this role really assisted me in growing as a professional and really took my strategic thinking and abilities to a whole other level. At this point in my career, the previous 12 years were heavily involved in supermarket refrigeration in a variety of roles. However, if you recall during my introduction, I mentioned I now work for BSA. So I joined here in late 2020, and I've pretty much done the full circle after 17 years, reconnecting back to my roots in commercial HVAC, and no longer in the supermarket space, but now reconnecting back to the HVAC. And one of the things that excites me is after 17 years, how much the technologies have evolved in this space or this sector of the industry. So after 7 months, I'm still learning all the new technologies in this sector, and we'll continue to do so as they keep evolving. So reflecting back on my career to date, I sometimes need to pinch myself. I far exceeded my own expectations and could never imagine the opportunities it has created for me. I went from not knowing what I wanted to do to working in an industry where I don't just learn air conditioning and refrigeration knowledge, but also other trades such as plumbing and electrical, which Brett also alluded to. I also got to complete a university degree whilst ticking off personal milestones along the way. This industry is exciting as it's constantly evolving. There are multiple avenues that you can explore according to what interests you the most. You can go down the path of designing and engineering systems. You can go down the path of installing the systems, or the path that I even took, servicing and repairing systems. It doesn't matter which path you choose, you get to leave your own mark on the sustainability and growth of local communities. You can remain a field technician, you can work your way up the corporate ladder, you can eventually own your own business. The opportunities are endless. I hope me sharing my journey has got some of you interested in exploring this trade as a career. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have and can even be contacted after this event if you want to discuss anything further. This is the week of World Refrigeration Day on the 26th of June, and it's the most important week where everyone comes together in promoting our trade, creating awareness, with the common objective of having the next generation of refrigeration and air conditioning men and women coming through. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, Devia. It was really, really great to hear of the, I guess, the opportunities that are available if people do want to take up a career and I guess, the different pathways that can sort of lead you as well. We might move into a bit of a Q&A session and just a casual discussion for the next 5 or 10 minutes, presenters. But I guess I have a couple of questions myself that I sort of want to have a bit of a discussion about. And one of those would be, how do we, I guess, speak to those outside of our industry to make opportunities for them in the refrigeration industry more accessible, I guess?
I'll just start from sort of the starting blocks, I suppose, is that, you know, we definitely need to reach students whilst they're still at school to raise awareness of what this opportunity is. I think plenty of kids at school have heard of electricians and they've heard of plumbers, but they haven't heard of refrigeration. I think it's important to raise awareness of what the industry is, and then to make them understand how they could fit into that. And I think that part of that is understanding the career path, such as Davia has just explained to us about how that opportunity has come. And I think that we certainly need to start at the grassroots. And I think that a lot of what my role as apprenticeship program manager, because I'm overseeing not only the apprentices we have, but also about where Woolworths fits into that. And of course, you know, as a large company, we can reach people reasonably well, but it doesn't mean that we're still missing out on a huge opportunity for people who don't even know this exists, that Woolworths employs apprentices, that this is a career path you can pursue. And I think that it's really important to reach at the beginning stages.
Yeah, 100%, Caroline. It's all about getting everyone at that grassroots. But how do we, you know, we talk about introducing it into schools and stuff, but how do we, I guess, get that introduced as part of like a study opportunity that gets introduced to those high school age students? Is there a way that we are better off sort of targeting a specific way to get that into the schools? Or how do we sort of go about that moving forward, do we reckon?
I think this opportunity here, Marie, is a good one to talk to a broader audience. And one thing that's been recognised over multiple events is the lack of a pathway to get to that level of person that we are looking at introducing to the industry. You can do it through job ads, and you can do it through things like LinkedIn and reach out to a group of peers. But we're not present enough, and Davia mentioned this is the most important week of the year for us. The things we do this week should be a continuing thing that we're doing as an industry to promote ourselves, and that's probably something we've got to get better. There is a lot happening this year in terms of engagement on World Refrigeration Day, and there has been a significant effort of people reaching out to school groups, and from what I've seen so far is that there's actually some ground being made up where we haven't had connections previously, which had all rested on the shoulders of TAFE and existing industry bodies, where we need to go a level lower than that into secondary schooling, and also looking at government ministers and how they can potentially facilitate a bridge. So.
And I think from my perspective, you know, it was through word of mouth that I got introduced to this industry, and I don't think too much has changed. I think that's what we're relying on at the moment. Yeah, there's a bit more social media activity and stuff, but I don't think the kids at school are searching up hashtags for World Refrigeration Day or anything like that. So I still think word of mouth is the best way to get introduction to the industry, but we all need to play our part in that.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess you're right. The more we can get the message out there, the better. And that starts with this week. And like I touched on earlier, I mean, this webinar here will be recorded, and AIRAH will be playing this back through our socials later this week, and also on World Refrigeration Day on the 26th of this month. So hopefully It gives people a bit of an opportunity to share the video around with young professionals. But look, presenters, I'd really like to thank you for your for the opportunity to get you guys on board today and give us a bit of an insight into your organisations and your experiences. For our audience, thank you for registering and attending and joining this session with us today. Hope you found it valuable, and as I said, please feel free to rewatch the webinar again via AIRAH socials up on Saturday. To get in touch with AIRAH for any further information regarding AIRAH's membership, training opportunities, upcoming events or conferences, please visit the AIRAH website. And if you'd like to get involved in the Refrigeration Special Technical Group, feel free to either contact myself or Brett Hedge as well. So thank you all once again for joining us today, and feel free to get in contact if you wish to explore more opportunities. So thank you again, presenters. See you later, everyone.
Right.